The deer's blood dripped onto Aric's worn boots. The Prince of Valmont wiped his knife against his thigh and put it away. It was his third prey of the day, but not the one he was looking for. He looked up at the reddish sky. The sun was setting and he still hadn't found the creature. He had been killing since he was old enough to hold a bow. His father, King Thorn, had put him to hunting at the age of 5. "A king must know how to spill blood," he had told him, while holding his small hands around the handle of a dagger. By 12, he had killed his first man, a thief who tried to steal the royal horses. At 16, he had led his first battle against the barbarians of the East. Now, at 25, his eyes were empty. Death did not impress him. Sweat ran down his back as he moved toward Lake Eldoria. He had dismissed his guards that morning. "It's a dangerous creature," he told them. "I will not risk your lives." In reality, he only wanted the glory for himself. He needed one more victory before his coronation. His father was dying, consumed by a disease that rotted his flesh. Soon, Aric would be king, and a king needed stories to intimidate his enemies. The villagers trembled when describing the creature. "Half bird, half human," they said, making the sign against evil. "It has the face of a woman, but claws that can tear the flesh from bone." Some swore they had seen it take children to the lake. Others said it devoured the hearts of fishermen. Aric smiled with contempt. He had heard many such stories. Almost always it turned out to be a deformed bear or a large wolf. This time would be the same. He would kill the beast, bring its head to the castle, and the villagers would worship him as a hero. The smell of water hit him. He was close. He crouched and moved through the bushes to the edge of the lake. The water shone like molten silver under the evening light. Nothing strange was visible. He took out an arrow, placed it in his bow, and waited. 1 hour, 2. Night fell. The cold bit his cheeks, but he didn't move. A patient hunter always gets his prey. The stars appeared one by one, reflecting in the black water. And then he saw her. She emerged from the water without making a sound, as if emerging from a dream. At first, Aric thought she was a normal woman bathing, but when she stood up, he saw the wings, enormous, white with pink tips, dripping water that shimmered under the moon. Her body was that of a young woman, but where her human neck should be, there was a long and elegant one that ended in an impossible face, half woman, half bird, with a small and shiny beak. Aric tensed the bow. The arrow pointed directly at the creature's heart. A clean, lethal shot. But his fingers did not release the string. Something paralyzed him. The creature moved with a grace he had never seen before. There was no evil in her movements. He had imagined her as a deformed monster, but what he saw was beautiful. "Kill her," he ordered himself. "It is your duty." He tensed the bow more. The creature turned her long neck and looked at him directly. Those eyes, damned eyes that pierced him like no sword had done. Black, deep, impossibly intelligent. There was no fear in them, only an ancient sadness that chilled his blood. The creature opened her beak and emitted a sound, a song so sad that Aric felt something break inside him. He lowered the bow without understanding why. His body was betraying his mind. The creature advanced toward him. Her feet, half human, half claws, left wet prints on the sand. Aric backed away but tripped over a root. He fell sitting, defenseless. The creature stopped a meter away from him, her head tilted as if wondering what kind of animal he was. "I won't hurt you," Aric said in a hoarse voice, putting away the arrow. "I don't know why, but I can't do it." The creature tilted her head. A tear, real and bright, fell down her feathered face. Aric extended his hand, a reflex gesture he could not control. The creature hesitated and then touched his fingers with the tip of her wing. It was softer than silk, warmer than any human skin. Aric returned to the castle that night, but did not sleep. He dreamed of black eyes watching him from the water. At dawn, before anyone woke up, he returned to the lake. He told himself it was to study the creature, to find her weaknesses. But the truth was different. The creature was waiting for him on the shore, as if she knew he would return. Aric brought bread and fruits. She accepted them with delicate gestures. He called her Seraphine because her wings reminded him of the angels in the sacred books. Every morning he returned, and every morning she was there. She showed him how she danced on the water, her feet barely touching the surface. She showed him hidden nests and secret caves. They didn't speak, she couldn't, but Aric felt they understood each other better than with any human. In the castle, his father was getting worse. The advisors pressured Aric to make decisions. "The lake creature is still loose," they reminded him. "The villagers are afraid." Aric ignored them. For the first time in his life, he felt something different from the emptiness after killing. One afternoon, while Seraphine and he were resting on the shore, she fixed her gaze on the locket that Auric wore around his neck. It was a gift from his dead mother, the only part of her he kept. Seraphine touched it with curiosity, and then it happened. A white and blinding light exploded from her body. The glow was so intense that Auric fell backwards, covering his eyes with his arm. When he could see again, his heart stopped. In front of him was no longer the creature. There was a woman with pale skin and long hair as white as snow. Her face was beautiful, but what made Auric recognize her were the eyes, the same black eyes that had paralyzed him. "I have waited for you for 7 years," she said in a raspy voice, as if she had been without using it for all that time. "I am Elira, Princess of the Kingdom of Eldoria." She told him her story while Auric covered her with his cloak. The sorcerer Malachi had courted her, but she rejected him. In revenge, he cursed her to live as a hybrid creature until someone who could kill her decided not to do so and touched her with an object of true power. "Your locket," she explained. "It has ancient magic that not even the sorcerer knew about." Before Auric could respond, horns sounded in the distance. His men were approaching, a hunting party no doubt, following his previous orders to capture the creature. "They're coming for you!" shouted Auric. "They must have followed us!" "They can't find me like this," said Elira, trembling. "Malachi has spies everywhere. If he knows I'm human again, he'll come for me. Or worse, he'll destroy what's left of my kingdom." Auric looked at her. He had never run from anything in his life. He was a prince, a hunter, a warrior. But at that moment, he decided to be something more. "Follow me," he said, taking her hand. "I know a place." They ran among the trees while the horns sounded closer and closer. The hunting dogs barked, following their trail. Auric guided her to a waterfall and made her pass through the icy water. Behind it was a cave, dark and damp but safe. "I found this place when I was 8 years old," he explained. "I used to hide here from my father when he was furious." For days, Auric visited the cave in secret. He brought her clothes, food, blankets. They talked for hours. She told him about Eldoria, a realm of magic and knowledge that had been prosperous until Malachi poisoned the mind of the king, her father. She told him about the civil war that followed, how she tried to stop it, and how Malachi cursed her when she was about to succeed. Auric told her about Valmont, about his tyrannical father, about the expectations that weighed on his shoulders, about how he had learned to kill before learning to read, about how he feared becoming a king as ruthless as his father. One night, as they shared the warmth of a small fire, Elira touched the scar that crossed Auric's face. "How did you get it?" she asked. "My father," he answered without emotion. "He hit me with his ring when I was 12 years old. He said I had failed in my training." Elira took his face in her hands and kissed him softly on the scar. It was the first gesture of tenderness that Auric remembered receiving. That night they made love for the first time, their bodies finding the language that their different worlds had denied them. Time passed. In the castle, King Thorn was dying and the nobles were conspiring. It was rumored that the prince was going mad, disappearing for days on end to hunt a creature that no one else had seen. The counselors discussed whether he was fit to rule. Some suggested that perhaps Auric's cousin, the ambitious Duke Rowan, might be a better option. One morning, the captain of the guard followed Auric to the waterfall. He saw the prince enter and waited. When Auric came out hours later, the captain returned to the castle with the news. The prince had a secret lover. That night, Auric arrived at the cave with a distressed face. "My father has announced my engagement to the Princess of Norfall," he said without greeting. "The wedding is in 3 days. The kingdom needs that alliance, they say." Elira stood motionless, tears forming in her black eyes. "Then it's the end," she whispered. "You must marry. It's your duty." "To hell with duty," growled Auric, hitting the wall of the cave. He pulled out a rolled-up map from his bag and spread it out on the ground. "I have found Malachi. He lives in the northern mountains, in a tower of black iron. We're going to confront him." "Why would you risk everything for me?" she asked. "Because with you I've learned that there is more to life than killing and conquering," he replied. "A good king protects what he loves, and I love you." They left that same night under the rain. It pained Auric to abandon his kingdom when his father was dying, but he knew that if he didn't face Malachi now, he would never be truly free to govern as he wished. The journey to the mountains was brutal. 3 days on horseback through snake-infested swamps. Auric killed 2 bandits who tried to rob them. Elira fell ill with fever but refused to stop. On the 4th day, they began to climb paths so narrow that they had to continue on foot. The tower rose against the gray sky, twisted like a sick tree. There were no guards, no walls. It didn't need them. The ground around was covered with bones, some human, others from creatures that Auric did not recognize. "He's waiting for us," said Elira, trembling not from cold but from rage. The door opened by itself when they approached. Inside, a greenish light illuminated a circular room. In the center, sitting on a throne that seemed made of petrified corpses, was the sorcerer. Malachi was beautiful in an unnatural way. His skin was so white it seemed translucent. His eyes, golden like a wolf's, shone with amusement. His black hair fell in waves to the floor. "My lost princess," he said in a melodious voice. "I see you have found a prince. How romantic." Auric tensed his bow. Elira took a step forward. "It's over, Malachi," she said. "Break all your spells on my people and leave us in peace." The sorcerer laughed. His laugh was like breaking glass. "Your people? What people, stupid girl? Eldoria no longer exists. I consumed it as I consume everything I touch." He rose from the throne and extended his hands. Black flames sprang from his fingers. "Your father died screaming your name," he said cruelly. "He died believing you had betrayed him." Elira screamed in pain and rage. Auric released an arrow that flew straight to the sorcerer's chest, but before touching him, the arrow stopped in midair, turned to black dust, and fell to the ground. "A child's toy," mocked Malachi. "Do you think you can kill me with that?" He threw a ball of black fire towards Auric. The prince barely dodged it, but the heat burned his arm. The pain was like nothing he had felt before. It wasn't physical pain, but something that burned his soul. Elira closed her eyes and began to sing. It was the same song that Auric had heard that first night at the lake. A shield of light formed around them, protecting them from Malachi's next blaze. "Do you remember your mother's magic?" shouted the sorcerer, furious. "It's weak compared to mine." Auric noticed something as the sorcerer moved. A small flask hanging from his belt, filled with a bright liquid. "The flask," he whispered to Elira. "I think it's important." She nodded without stopping her singing. Her shield was beginning to weaken under Malachi's constant attacks. Auric took out another arrow, but this time he didn't aim at the sorcerer. He aimed at the flask. The arrow went through Elira's shield and flew straight and true. The sound of breaking glass was followed by an inhuman scream. The liquid splashed Malachi's legs and began to melt his flesh like acid. The sorcerer fell to his knees, his beauty fading away. His skin wrinkled, his hair turned gray and then white. His eyes sank. "My vital essence," he moaned. "My immortality." He crawled towards Elira. His nails turned into claws, seeking to scratch her. Auric stood in the way and stabbed him in the chest with his knife. There was no blood, only a black powder that spilled onto the floor. "You're both equally pathetic," spat the sorcerer as his body crumbled. "Your kingdom has fallen, princess, and yours will soon fall, prince. Kingdoms always fall." His body turned into ashes that a supernatural wind carried away. The tower began to shake. "It's collapsing!" shouted Auric. "Run!" They got out just as the structure collapsed upon itself. Behind them, where the tower once stood, now there was only a pile of smoking rubble. "It's over," said Elira, exhausted. "But Malachi was right. My kingdom no longer exists." Auric hugged her tightly.